What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I watched a movie called The Many Saints of Newark, starring Alessandro Nivola. That's a strong name, man. Ray Liotta, and someone I had no idea was who they are until 5 seconds ago. Michael Gandolfini, the son of the late James Gandolfini. That's right. That's right. First of all, let's discuss The Sopranos. Before there was Game of Thrones, I used to think The Sopranos was the best cable series of all time. I really did. Okay. Boardwalk Empire is neck and neck with Sopranos, all right? They're both equally good shows. But The Sopranos came first. That's what we're talking about. All right? And I feel like The Sopranos also paved a way for certain crime dramas, such as the short-lived Kingpin, if anybody remembers that. All right. And Power. And I know you remember what that is, okay? I know you know what that is. Don't play. I also feel like there's something different about The Sopranos for me, because it's one of the few cable series that I was actually anticipating a movie for. Back in the day, a long time ago, when the show was fresh, they were supposed to have a movie come right after the show. But unfortunately, James Gandolfini passed away. Rest in peace, you know. And I understood, but I still was a little upset because Sex and the City got 2 movies. It got a 1 and a 2. Why? But it's okay. It's okay, because we got our answer. And now we have the Saints, the Many Saints of Newark. All right? It's a prequel. It's not the aftermath, but I'll take it. I will take it. My only question is this the movie us true Soprano fans were asking for? We're about to find out. Let's go. The Many Saints of Newark. Pretty much what I was talking about earlier. It's the prequel of The Sopranos. It's the younger life of Tony Soprano. It's the reason that he is the way that he is in his present life. All right? You have his uncles, you have his father, you have his mother, you have their whole life coming up, and how they became such a feared family. All right? And that's pretty much the Saints of Newark. Positives. You know I have to say this. You know I have to get this out of the way. But I loved the nostalgia in this movie. Of course, I'm a big fan. So when I started watching this, all the characters brought back a lot of memories. I call it a reverse nostalgia because it's a prequel. All right. So we're getting new information from the past. All right. And they're bringing up old characters like Silvio and Paulie and Pussycat. We're just going to say Pussycat, okay? That's the young Pussycat. All right? And, Uncle Junior and the mother. And it's all these characters are just great to see again as the younger them. All right? It's interesting because then you start thinking about a lot of episodes with other characters that were not involved and just mixing them with the characters that were, and just thinking about the old show itself all together. And it's just great. It's a great thing to do. All right. Another positive for this. I love how they let you dwell into why a few of the characters are the way that they are, why they turned out the way they turned out. Especially with three specific characters: Tony, his mother, and Uncle Junior. Now, Tony we're going to talk about a little later on, so we're pushing him to the side. But the mother is the main subject in this, all right? Because the mother is always been known as a complaining, grouchy, bitter person, for a better word. And in her younger days, she wasn't too different. Just, it shows you how she really just regressed. Like she got worse. She got worse. She was tame at one point. She was not like this at one point. Not that bad. But things got worse. There was a point in her life where she was actually a good mother. Actually a very normal person at one, and wanted to be a mother to her son. And then there's a little storyline in there, or a little quick story in there that kind of illustrates that. And it's really cool because you see her in a different light for a couple of seconds. But then that all, of course, changes up really quick. And she becomes the witch of The Sopranos. Uncle Junior. There is some details about him besides what we already know. He's always been the guy who ruins the party, who doesn't know how to joke around, who takes everything too seriously. He's always been that kind of guy. But there's something about him in this movie that's going to make you look at him in a completely different light. It's not surprising, but at the same time, it's just so... it's so... I can't... If I say a certain word, you're going to already start to get ideas about what's going to happen. All right? No ideas. Just watch it. Another positive. Remember I was talking about Tony? There's a specific reason that he's getting his own little section here. Because really the movie didn't pick up as far as action until Tony became a teenager. Became at least almost out of high school. Alright? Other characters were now well into their position in the family, and things were starting to kick off. Betrayal was happening. Tony was getting older, and he was realizing, what he already expected from his family. They're a crime family. He's in a crime family. He expected that, and he wanted to be a football player, but things don't go that way eventually for him. All right, and it's very interesting to see the young Tony, because even before he even thought about doing any of that, he was already like robbing ice cream trucks. Okay, so not for money, just to give other kids ice cream. That was a crazy scene in the movie. It is a very crazy scene, and it was so crazy because it's not even one lick of crime on his mind. He felt like he didn't do a crime with that, and that lets you know that he is very ready to be who he came to be. All right. Even the teachers speak of how he's such a leader, and that was so interesting. And it was foretelling. It was highly foretelling for this guy. Everything picked up. Just tell you right now, everything picked up in that part. The second half. Another positive that I have to mention here. There is an unsuspecting part in this movie, like towards the end, that's very heartfelt. A certain relationship between two people, not going to say, that takes a turn for the worse because somebody has to do what they have to do. All right. And it's really sad. It's really sad, and you're going to feel it like, damn, I didn't think that I would feel bad for these certain people. Okay, but I do feel bad. I do feel some some sorrow. Like this certain person had to make the choice that they had to make. And and even though they made that choice, unfortunately it didn't change a lot of things. It made some things worse. It made some things worse. After all the pain and the tears, it made things worse. It did really kick something off. All right? When you see it, you'll know it. It's towards the end of the movie. When you see it kick in, you'll know what's going on. All right? But it was a very heartfelt moment for this movie. Negatives. Let's get this over with. Remember how I said the second half was really where all the action popped off? Because the first half was so freaking weak. It was weak. It was like a light brush through what we know about The Sopranos. Or not really, but just a lot of storyline to get things going. All right? It felt like that. Like they were just trying to rush it on and then get you to the part where Tony gets older. That's how I felt, because Tony really didn't do a lot. He really wasn't focused on the kid version of him. He, like I said, I might have said earlier, mentioned earlier, he was just kind of innocent and didn't know what was going on. Not really. He just, the little chubby kid, it didn't, just kind of looking at everybody else act crazy in his family and like probably wonder what have I been born into? What have I been born into? But at the same time, that still wasn't very interesting because they really didn't focus on Tony like that. I wish they would have, but they didn't. They didn't. They focused on the rest of the family, and their early storylines were not that riveting. They weren't that riveting, man. They were not that interesting. I hate to say it. It was kind of like a basic backstory for a mafia movie. Let's put it like that. The soft core version. Another negative about this. There is a character. I'll put it out there. There's a black character, probably the only most prominent black character in here, that they chose to just use as the character that gets all the bad crap on him. Because in that time and era, of course, black people were going through a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of messed up things. All right. Very messed up. A lot more messed up than today. But very messed up back in the day. But it's like they chose only him to go through it. And I didn't like that. I didn't like how they made him that guy, and he really didn't have a personality. All right, he didn't have a personality at all. It was Richard or something like that. Just a bland character. Just was created to get his butt kicked all the time and get discriminated. And that's it. And that was pretty much it until the second half of the movie when they had to spice things up. All right, but in that first half, he was just a horrible character. There was something that I liked that they did in the second half with him, where they kind of debunked the whole rumor or stereotype about black guys. they debunked it. I liked that. I liked that part. But everything else about his character, they could have got anybody for that role. They really could have. All right. Disappointing. My last and very important negative for this movie. This movie felt like it was incomplete. The way that it ended, all the things that they touched on, or the subjects and the topics and the issues that were going on that they went over, it was kind of left in a like it was hanging. And there were some issues that needed to be taken care of still. But they just left the open end. Very open. And I felt like it had the feel of, okay, is there going to be a second part to this movie? Because there has to be. You've got too many things still going on. And I need to see, it showed a little bit of how, the path that Tony was about to go down. but it really didn't show Tony in his youth being the guy who's running things. It didn't show that. And I felt like, okay, there's got to be a second half to this. There's got to be a second half. And because of that, I've got to give this an I cool. All right? An I cool. Now, if there's a second half to this movie, I need to know, because then this rating can change, and I will add this to the other half and make that one whole movie, and that rating can definitely change up. But until then, this is sticking with an I cool. It could have been a little better. It could have been a lot more to this movie. All right? I want you to press that like button, share this video, and you better subscribe if you haven't.